most couples, we don't drift apart because we've stopped loving each other. We drift apart because, quite frankly, no one really teaches us this game of marriage. No one really teaches us how to connect. When it comes to this topic, though, of marriage, it's kids, it's stress, it's exhaustion, it's resentment, it's mismatched sexual desires. And suddenly, two people who are wildly attracted to each other and get married, start having kids, suddenly we barely speak and we feel like we're roommates. And this is why today's conversation is very, very different. Today, I'm sitting down with Mark and Brianna Carey. They're a married couple, but this couple, they're like a powerhouse couple. Brianna is a licensed professional counselor. She's also a sexual health educator for the past 16 years, and she's a relationship and intimacy coach. I joked with Mark. I'm like, okay, well, if you're married to her, then you're obviously the luckiest dude on the planet, because that's pretty cool. But Mark is also a licensed family therapist. Today's episode is not surface level advice. It is real talk about communication, even tonality. So if you're married, if you feel disconnected in any way whatsoever, and if you want to understand your wife better instead of guessing, and if you want real intimacy that feels safe and mutual and alive again, today's conversation is definitely for you. It's going to ground you. It's going to give you tools that you can actually use. I'm going to point you guys in the direction of this show. If you guys want all the resources, head on over to dadedge.com/1425 for this show. But from my heart to yours, you guys are in for a treat today because Bree and Mark really brought it. So gents, enjoy this. Mark and Brianna, welcome to Dad Edge. It is awesome to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Excited.
So, truth be told, so I connected with Mark before this podcast, and he was like, should we have Brianna part of the show? I was like, absolutely, because when we have the wives who are part of this, or I have a female guest, the downloads are crazy, and that just tells me that the audience really wants to hear from the woman's perspective. So, Brianna, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to bring that different perspective to the show.
Me too. So, what is your background?
My background. So I have been a sexual health educator for over 17 years. I am a certified relationship and intimacy coach. So that's my focus.
And Mark, you're just the luckiest man on the planet. Is that who
That's
you are?
Right, I am.
Okay, yeah. So we have that straight.
Psychologist for 15 years. And I've worked with couples, a lot of men being in the psychology space. There's not a lot of male practitioners, so a lot of high-performing men, contracts with first responders and military and vets. So
very cool, man. My oldest son is actually he's in EMT school, and he's a volunteer firefighter right now. So he literally just started, and I told him, I was like, you're going to need one thing when you start this process, and that's your therapist on speed dial.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You need that if you're a first responder.
Mm-hmm.
Extra support is always needed.
Yeah. So did you guys meet after you started like going through your education?
No, we met in college.
Okay.
So we've been together for almost 19 years. Married for, it'll be 15. We have 2 kiddos, 10 and 6.
I was a collegiate wrestler. She was a manager for the wrestling team, of course, hanging out a lot.
Yeah.
Just naturally worked out.
That's cool. Were you ever like, you look very nice in that singlet, let me say.
I can see all of you.
Right. There's nothing to hide. There's nowhere to hide. So
Nothing. Yes.
yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. So I am curious, Brianna. So how did you pursue this, sexual health thing? Like what had you so intrigued about that?
Yes. So I've been an educator at heart. I was going to school to be an elementary teacher. And for me, I just knew that the education system needed to change in how it was talking about sexual health for children, empowering them with the knowledge, and, that helps to decrease abuse. And so it was something that was just it was a calling, really. Like looking back, I just knew that I needed to talk about this. So in college, what I realized was women didn't know about their bodies. and they just needed to know more to help them be confident, to come into relationships with more education, to feel empowered about communicating with their partners. And so that's what really snowballed my path, I guess, in that field. And then what was really cool is as I was navigating my life and growing, and our relationship developed, and I was able to help women at different points in their relationship too. And so, helping women that are just starting out dating, and then they would get married, and then eventually they were having children as well. And so seeing the progression, the evolution of relationships and how to navigate it and support it was just kind of life experience that kept me going.
I am curious, and I know, Mark, I'm going to get to you here too, but I am curious about this, like what you see on a normal basis. So like, like last night, I'm talking to you guys like literally right after Christmas, and we had 70 people here last night at my house. My wife has a huge family. So, and of course you catch up with everybody that you haven't seen for a while. And I got into conversation, which is a normal conversation that I have with people when you haven't seen them for a while. They're like, hey, like, what are you doing in Dad Edge right now? I'm like, I pretty much the same thing I always have, but marriage is a huge topic. Like, and so then they started asking questions. They're like, well, what do you normally see is like the biggest problems in marriage? I was like, it's always communication. And it's always like a lot of times the communication, the misalignment on like trying to fulfill the other person's needs. They usually don't even know the needs of the other person, like, and they're missing it totally. I was like, but it's usually like 3 to 5 common themes that seem to always be there. And I'm curious with the sexual health field, like what are the common things that you always hear about?
Ooh. Is this what we're talking about the whole show? No, I'm just kidding. Man. Okay. So when it comes to, from the female perspective, the sexual aspect of it, just people in general, we're not taught about our bodies and how to talk about sex. Sex is very taboo. And so in the beginning of a relationship, of course, it's very exciting. You have this chemistry, but then it's like there is a natural, like, I don't want to say decline, but it slows down, right? It does slow down because life happens, and it's like now you are solid with your partner. So it's like, okay, well, that doesn't need to be quite the forefront for me right now. And for women, a lot of times that's like the part that goes on the back burner, which then becomes a big point of disconnect between, but then they don't know how to talk about it together to where each person feels heard and supported. And so I would say that's like a really big
desire discrepancy.
Desire discrepancy.
Like one person is the higher driver type of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jeanette. So if this conversation with Bree and Mark is hitting you already, like it did me, you're in for a treat because we're going to go way deeper on this one. But if it's hit you in the gut and you're realizing, man, I feel like I've been guessing for years, I want to invite you guys to look at the Dad Edge Alliance this year in 2026. And when I say this year, I mean right now, because this is a brand new year and your marriage could look totally different. Also, for all my business owners out there, we have the Dad Edge Business Boardroom Brotherhood. So we've got that for you. But every single week in these 2 programs, this is a brotherhood for married dads who want to lead with confidence, get their marriage back on track, and build real connection without the fluff and without the gimmicks, and most importantly, without the freaking guessing. Inside, you are going to notice right away, you're not doing this work alone. Both programs, our Boardroom as well as the Alliance, are packed with amazing dudes who actually want the exact same thing you do. They want a marriage on fire. They want a marriage that thrives. They don't want a marriage that survives. They want passion. They want intimacy. They want connection and all those things. So every single week, you're going to get live weekly coaching, practical skills like we're talking about today that you can immediately implement and start enjoying the fruit of what you are actually learning and executing in real life. Gentlemen, do not wait. Do not wait until the middle of the year. This is a brand new year. It's 2026. Let's build the marriage of your dreams. If you are a business owner, the Boardroom is your pathway. And if you're a career guy, the Alliance is your pathway. You can find both paths if you head on over to thedadedge.com/mastermind. Let's go create an amazing marriage for you in 2026. All right, back to my conversation with Mark and Bree. I heard a stat that is 70% of men usually the higher driver, or did I hear that wrong?
That sounds very close to being correct. Yeah. Typically it is the male partner that has a higher drive for sure.
Gotcha. And I'm sorry, I did cut you off. You were saying something too.
No, no, you're good.
Okay.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about that as well. There's a lot of research on why that might be, and oftentimes men access intimacy through physical connection and through sex, so much more than women. And women it's a wheel of intimacy. They're all connected. And so women often get on the wheel differently. They want to get on through emotional connection and emotional intimacy. And when we're very busy and we got a lot going on, we have kids, sometimes that's the part, the depth of the communication. You mentioned how conflict and communication can be an issue. Not only is it the conflict and communication that way, but it's always also the depth of communication, getting deep and getting to the meaningful conversations and beyond. How was your day at work today? Well, it was good. How was yours? Like, no, like, what was something that you were excited about? What was something that, was amazing? What was something that was hard? Like the depth of connection.
Yeah. So it's not just like the high level things. It's like deep human connection is really what we're talking about. Yeah. So let me ask both of you guys this. Where do we miss this? Or so I see all the time, as well as I'm sure you do, Mark, and I'm sure you do too, Brianna, but like these constant misfires where a guy will do something, it falls flat, and he's like, oh, like, what happened there? Or she does something and the guy completely misses it, or he's just like, I'm not sure what that even was, or, you know what I mean? It's like one person will give effort, but it's not the effort that the other person necessarily receives, right? It's kind of like the love language thing in a way. But I'd like to go a little bit deeper than like obviously the love language thing. So what are the misfires that you guys normally see?
Yeah. So something that's coming to mind right now is like assumptions within relationships, and especially the longer you've been in relationship, those assumptions can come through so what I hear from my clients, from women, is that, well, he should just know what I want. And it's like, well, do you know what you want? And if you don't know what you want, then how is he going to know what you want? Right. And so kind of like allowing that connection for you to take a back seat almost. It's almost disempowering by not using your voice. So you're just letting your partner assume things for you, or you assume things about your partner. And then that creates disconnection because you're not actually, again, having that deep conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Another place that I think bids for connection, or repair. So these are two terms used. If we're in some conflict and I make a joke, it's not because I'm not taking it seriously. It could be my attempt to reconnect when we're disconnected. And does she see that? Does she receive that? And sometimes not. I think another thing that really changes is emotional intimacy is pretty easy when you're first learning about somebody, because you've never heard their stories, you've never heard about their family, you've never met them, like you're meeting them for the first time. And we have a saying that, it's very important that we miss each other. And so we go on trips separately, we do things separately so that we get to tell each other stories, we get to express ourselves, we get to connect emotionally as well. And so some of it is I want to be I want to be interesting and entertaining to my wife. And part of that is being an individual and being a person myself first. So that's one.
Yeah.
I could keep going. There's another one that I love to talk about, which is one of the misses around sex in relationships, long-term relationships, is that my wife humored me when we were younger, and I would put the moves on her, the quote unquote moves on her.
Are you talking about like the half or the crossface, or are you talking?
No, not wrestling moves, but Rico Suave, the moves, right? I'm putting the moves on her, and she's like, I know these are coming. These aren't really moves. I'm not really turned on by them, but I like this guy and we're going to have sex. And then later on in life, I meet these guys and they're like, well, I'm doing the same thing I always did and it doesn't work. I'm putting whatever the move is for them on my wife. And it's like, yeah, that's because they're really just humoring you at the beginning. It never actually worked. What works is communication, intimacy, intentionality, connection. That's what works. Me coming up to my wife and saying, hey, I miss you. I would really like to connect with you. And I would really like to have sex with you. Are you open to that? And how can we do this? And if you're not open to penetrative sex right now, what other form of connection are you open to? And it's not a yes or no. There's an in-between there.
Do you just, I swear I'm not being sarcastic. Do you actually ask like that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious, Brianna, like how do you like that?
I appreciate it because it is very direct and
Okay.
I get to then check in with myself and be like, I'm not available for that right now. But yeah, I would be open to connecting some other way. What does that look like for you? And so this is that piece, right, where we're not taught about sex. And so we're not taught how to communicate about sex. And so this is the part that, puts a distance between a lot of couples because the male partner, if they're going to be that direct, they feel like that's too forward and women don't know how to receive that directness. We've practiced this for many years, right? Like this has been something that we've had to work on. It wasn't just like, from the beginning of our relationship, but ultimately what we want to remind everybody is like the communication, it's always about connection.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And do you think that one of the biggest probably maybe misalignments or misfires is we just try to go right to intimacy and we're not connecting?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know one of the things that you guys specialize in is parents who are like younger parents. I don't mean by age. I mean by like they're starting to have kids.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I first started talking to Mark, I was fascinated by this because I've had tons of guests come on the podcast. I've never had a couple like you guys though. So this is super cool. Like, a sexual health expert as well as a licensed family therapist. Like this is like a golden combination as far as I'm concerned. But I'll tell you, like, the thing that there's been so many people that come on the show about and talk about marriage and connection, all this, but not anyone to talk about like, hey, when you first start having kids, those first 2 years, it's sort of sneaky and it's kind of scary. And this is where disconnection starts to happen. It's like the first domino. And then when Mark was explaining this to me, I was like, oh my gosh, man, you are so right. And then Mark, you even kind of alluded to like the 7-year itch type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the crazy thing is this. So like, I was just watching, I was doing a couple of things on YouTube before you guys jumped on. And I was watching this woman talking about marriage. And she's like, it really doesn't matter because the average marriage lasts 7 years now. And then people are just moving on. I'm like, wow. I was like, and I'm about ready to interview you guys. And this woman's like talking about it. So I don't know if that statement is necessarily true, but I know that 7-year itch. But I would love for you guys to just unpack, like, couple gets married for maybe a year or two, start having kids, and suddenly things start to happen. And can you explain what happens?
Yeah, let's talk stats first.
Okay, perfect.
So, what is it? 1/5?
1/5 of couples.
Yeah, 1/5 of couples divorce within or separate within 2 years of having a child.
1/5, so 20% of couples.
20% of couples.
Wow. They separate within 2.5 years?
2 years. Yeah.
2 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the 7-year itch. So we know the divorce rate goes up. And now it's the average, according to this person on YouTube, is 7 years that a relationship lasts. And so the Gottmans did a lot of research on couples. They continued to do it. And what they found was couples who are in distress or unhappy wait about 6 years before they get help or they divorce. So now we're talking 7 years minus 6. Okay, what happens within about a first year of marriage? Well, we're usually having kids. And so we jokingly say, but also it's kind of serious, like kids are the number one reason for divorce, not the kids themselves, but that that we as a couple struggle to keep up with the changes that are happening in our relationship, in our family, and the dynamics between us once we start having kids.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if you talk about the timeline a little bit.
Yeah, I can talk about the timeline. I'm going to go here first. So one of the things that we talk about a lot too is like our partner is our mirror. So they reflect all of our great qualities. They also reflect all of our shadows. Children are a magnifier for all of the unhealed parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
And so again, you know, when you start having kids, you're now like, who am I as a person? I'm now responsible for this tiny human. How do I like interact in my partnership? And oh my gosh, I just said this thing that I haven't heard in 12 years, but that was totally my mom or my dad coming out of my mouth, you know, talking to my kid, right? And so these are all the things that are not talked about.
Wow.
That are kind of just like a surprise when you have your kids.
I've never even thought of that. Like, so you're talking about like maybe some of your childhood, like maybe traumas are getting a little riled up and that kind of thing is happening. So like you're kind of basically what you're saying is so we get married and that probably changes our identity, right? Because we're no longer an individual. Now we're married. So it's like, okay, what does this look like? And then we're kind of thrusted into this first year. Now we have a new roommate, you know, so we're now living with the person. Now we start having kids within the first year or two. And now we're starting to ask ourselves, well, who am I? All the while we're getting like these little pings of maybe trauma, like raising up in us because now we're raising kids. And then on top of it, like our partner knows all the good things, all the shadows. And it's just like us, like, where do I, like, it's kind of like this, it feels like in a way, like a Venus flytrap of emotions a little bit if you're not ready for it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with that, the first year postpartum, there's a lot of challenges that come up. Again, it's not talked about. We, you know, are prepared for baby. We're starting to talk a lot more about like how to take care of mom during that time. 10 years ago when we had our first, like none of this was talked about. The terms touched out wasn't talked about, you know. And so another thing that's not talked about is like the experience the dad goes through. Dads go through postpartum depression as well. They're navigating the sense of identity. You know, mom's taking care of baby. That's her full focus. And then, you know, your partner's like, okay, but what about me? And not in a like selfish way, but also, but like, where do I fit in here? And so there's kind of like the whirlwind the first 6 weeks. You guys are just kind of getting settled, navigating everything. And then from about 3 months to 6 months, you start to feel like you're getting into a rhythm. And then like 6 months to 12 months, you're either like connecting or you're starting to become roommates at that point.
And can you, what are like some of the first like sort of symptoms that you feel that like a guy feels, woman feels? Like, what does a woman feel when that roommate syndrome starts to creep in, and what does a guy feel?
Ooh, okay. So let me
Go back in time.
I know, let me travel back real quick. So for me, navigating healing postpartum was a whirlwind. I had a lot of experiences where I had to go in and talk to my midwife. And again, pelvic floor therapy wasn't talked about back then either. So navigating intimacy was just a very like, and again, being a sexual health educator, I was like, well, this is going to be easy. I know this stuff, but it wasn't. Things were different. Things changed. And there was one moment, I think it was about 6 months, and Mark came home from work and he literally just leaned in to hug me and kiss me. And I physically jumped back. I'm like, don't touch me. He's like, what did I do? And I was like, I don't know, but I can't have you touch me right now. And again, the term touched out because I was nursing a child and I had him, you know, carrying him around all day. And I was like, I just needed space for myself. And so I think that is challenging to communicate to a partner because it's difficult to understand for yourself. And so on the receiving end of that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking back about these experiences, and as a dad, I didn't have this connection to my child we just went through this big experience. I'm supposed to feel bliss and joy, and I can imagine what that feels like. And at the same time, like, a little baby is not responding to me. So we're not like building until they start to smile and do that type of stuff. And so for me, it took probably about 6 months before I really had a connection to my child. Whereas moms, since they're carrying around, they have that natural connection. And then again, like Ray was saying, what part am I in this? You know, how do I show up? I'm doing the things that I feel like I need to, but I'm not connecting with my wife. I'm feeling lonely. And yeah, it's, I think it's an odd experience. It was, at least for me, because it was one of the happiest, quote unquote, happiest times of our lives, and the most disconnected, chaotic, and challenging at the same time.
Yeah.
With the least amount of support that we've ever had.
And plus, you probably don't even want to speak up and say, "Hey, we need help," or "We're not good," or like we're kind of struggling, because like you don't want anyone to be the wiser, right? You don't want to like, oh, they've got it under control, like they're good, right? You don't want to talk about it. Yeah.
I want to circle.
And like most guys, you know, I can hard work it. I can do it all. I don't need the help. And, you know, yeah.
Yeah. I want to circle back real quick when talking about like the healing process and this common misconception about the 6-week
this is good.
postpartum appointment has become very synonymous with, okay, now we get to go back to having sex. And that's a lot of pressure for the woman. And that's not exactly what that means. You know, my midwife was like, "Hey, you're all good. You can resume activities." I'm like, "What does that mean? Like, what is normal right now? Like, what are normal activities?" And so again, when things were not working or feeling good and a lot of pain, I felt broken. And I know that's a lot of women feel that. They're like, "Well, I'm not ready. I feel broken because I can't do this thing for my partner." It's like, well, you have to take care of yourself first. And there are ways to connect if you know how to communicate about it, and you know different ways to connect, right? So that's what we provide resources on different ways you can connect, have the physical intimacy without, it being full penetrative sex, right? It's taking care of the emotional connection, the physical, and really prioritizing that. So I just wanted to really highlight that piece because I know that gets brought up. Well, the doctor said it was okay. And it's like, actually, that just means like her placenta-sized wound is now healed, but she's not actually physically or emotionally or mentally at capacity for that.
So I think the last stat was, on average, 6 months is about the time that most couples resume having sex after having a child.
So like resume having like normal, like as far as how often, that kind of thing, or like actually like resuming?
Or
resuming in general.
starting, yeah.
Wow.
And then from there, it gets more
frequency
moves up. But
got it. Yeah, you guys want to hear kind of a funny story that goes back 20 years?
Yeah.
I know that because my oldest is 20. And by the way, I got into this space because I was not the best husband, was not the best father. That's why I continue to do this work, because I'm still not there, and will continue to probably do this work forever, because I never really feel like I'm there. But like, I'll never forget that 6-week appointment. I think I was 30, and I looked at the doctor, and he's like, okay, he's like, you're healed. And I was like, so we can start having sex again? Can we start? Like, I was like, literally, I was like, so we can start having sex again? And this guy looked at me like I was the biggest freaking jackass he had ever seen in his life. And he just looked right at me and he goes, "You can start having sex again when she tells you it's okay." And I'm like,
good for him.
Okay, I'm sorry. But it's such a rookie, question. But yeah, that was on my mind as a 30-year-old man.
Yeah. And it is for many, like for majority.
Yeah.
And again, we're not, we're opening up the conversation for this, right? So
with this, so like, so we talked about like what roommates look like and kind of what it feels like for you, Bree, and what it probably feels like for some women, and Mark, same thing for you, what it feels like for a guy. And the thing that I think is the most dangerous thing is when resentment starts to take seed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like when the other person, or both, right? Both too. It's like as soon as that person starts to get like ill will in a way, like, this sucks, I don't like this. And then they start to, you know, there could be passive aggressiveness, there could be complete stonewalling, there could be gaslighting, there could be like total disconnect, you know, retreating and that kind of thing. But how do we break that actual cycle of resentment? Because if that keeps going, I heard another stat, and Bree, I don't know if this is true, or Mark, I don't know if you guys know this, but when a woman actually looks at her husband and says, I don't really know if I want to be with you anymore, or I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. She's been thinking about that for an average of 2 years before she says it out loud. Is that true?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Most people think about divorce for, I'd say guys as well, for years before they utter the words, because it's scary.
It's scary.
Terrifying, yeah.
But
how do we... Sorry, go ahead.
There's an interesting stat that couples who talk about getting a divorce more often are far less likely to get one. And it's fascinating, right? Have you and your wife ever talked about divorce?
No.
Okay.
I mean, like, we joke about it, you know, but like, actually, like, or we, like, we'll say things kind of more playful, I think, which is like, what would you do if you were single? And like, like, we both are just like, I don't even know. Like, I think, like, this is our conversations. Like, if you and I got divorced and I was single, I think my dates would last 5 minutes or 5 hours. One of the two. There would be no in between, because within 5 minutes, you probably know if there's chemistry. Be like, well, you know, let's not waste each other's time, or you totally hit it off. But yeah, we more or less joke about it. But to answer your question, no, we don't talk about it. So maybe we start talking about it.
Well, you are talking about it in a way, and the goal and the idea behind this is, if you talk about it and you say, hey, do you want to get a divorce? Is that something you want? And you get to reflect on that. We always recommit. We double down, right? Every time you and your wife talk about, like, oh, what would it be like if we weren't together? You're like, I don't want that. And you're actually doubling down, tripling down in your relationship to be more intentional, to be more driven, to be more motivated.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have. So I don't want to challenge you, but I would think the opposite, because, like, you know, what we focus on grows, what we focus on expands. So if we're talking about divorce, we're actually fending it off if we're talking about it?
If we're having an open and honest conversation, and we're both committed to not having it, yes.
Okay.
You know, if we're, because think about those 2 years that somebody's thinking about it, what they're actually doing is fantasizing how they could be okay after a divorce is usually what's happening, right? And so if we address it and say, like, well, this isn't working for me, what would it be like if we got a divorce? And you both come to the conclusion that we don't want that, then you're going to get the help. You're going to get the support. You're going to get the things you need. And so, I mean, you're right. What you think about, what you talk about, you know, gets bigger. But what's actually happening for that person that's been thinking about it for 2 years is they're getting over the emotional charge of the disappointment, the sadness for those years. And sometimes when we talk about, we bring what's in the dark into the open.
Name it to tame it.
Yeah. When we bring those emotions out, we work through them.
Mm-hmm.
Name it to tame it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Yeah. So
or maybe even another example, because this sounds like a really cool thing for couples to do.
Literally, anything that you've been sitting on that feels scary to talk about, when you name the thing, it loses its power over you. Because when it's in our head and we create these stories, and it can just build and grow and fester, when you say it out loud, it's like, oh, okay, that actually wasn't that bad. You know?
So
another example.
Example for me, one that I very specifically use, is whenever I'm going to talk to people. So I'm going to be on stage, I'm going to be in front of people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000, doesn't matter. The number one thing I do, I walk out on the stage, I invite everyone to take a deep breath with me, to regulate my nervous system. And then I tell them what I'm feeling in my body in that moment. I'm anxious. I feel like maybe that I'm going to say something and then I'm going to lose my train of thought. And you guys are going to, think I don't know what I'm talking about. And as soon as I say that, like all the power of that goes away. And now I'm ready to rock and roll and deliver and be myself. And so it could be a lot of other areas, right? Like, hey, a conversation. Hey, I've been thinking about that thing we did in the bedroom and I didn't really enjoy that. And as soon as I say it, it's like, oh, thank goodness I said that out loud. And she's like, oh, I didn't either. Like, yeah, we're not doing that again. Great.
Done. Move on.
I hear you. It's fun. My wife and I had a moment kind of like this yesterday, where, I mean, luckily, maybe it's because I do work like this and you guys do work like this. And I feel like in a way, like the three of us have a bit of a cheat code because you kind of know, like, yeah, we do. It's like you've been doing jujitsu, so you know how to do jujitsu, right? So it's like, but people walk in the door, have never done it. They're brand new to it. And I think that's the way, unfortunately, most married couples operate. They're just winging it, right? And, but so we've got a good relationship. We talk openly. And it's interesting that you say that because my wife and I kind of got into a tiff yesterday, and we don't argue very often. And even like our arguments, we talk just like this, right? Mm-hmm. But like it's Christmas time and she has been like an absolute like maniac with getting everything ready. Yeah. And her family, like we had 70 people in this house last night. Her family's huge. We had all of them over, and she spent like we all spent like 3 straight days like turning this house upside down, cleaning it, decorations, and it's just the holidays too. And like for 5 days, like it was almost like my wife was a different person, and I had like no access to her, and it was almost like I was annoying her. Like we walked outside. And this is so unlike her. She's a mom of 4 boys, and she's like a badass, and nothing really ruffles her feathers. She doesn't really get upset unless she's really stressed. So we're walking outside. I see my 17-year-old's shoes on the ground. And I'm like, hey, I was like, do you know if Mason's going to do anything with these? I was like, they've been here for like 3 weeks. And she's like, why does everyone come to me with questions? Like I have all the answers or something. Like I manage everyone. And I'm like, I looked at her. I was like, what? What is wrong with you? Like I just said it jokingly. I was like, wow, all right. So we get in the car. She's like, sorry, I shouldn't have. I didn't mean to talk to you like that. I was like, and that was one of quite a few times. And then like, kind of like what you just did. Our code word for sex is I miss you. Right. And I looked at her it was yesterday, it was Sunday, and we were getting the house ready. And I this is idiotic for me to think that it would go any other way. And not that I wanted it in that moment, but I wanted her to know that I desired her. I desire you, I miss you, I love you, that type thing, right? So I go up to her, and normally like 9.9 out of 10 times she'll be like, I miss you too. Like we're really in sync. And I go, hey, I miss you. And she goes, we just had it 2 days ago. Like seriously? Like we just had it 2 days ago. Like what do you like what's going on with you? And I'm like, and I was like, can we talk for a second? And she's like, yeah. I was like, hey, look, I've known you for a long time, and I know when you have your family over, and I know how you are around the holidays, and you are just freaking task. Like everything's got to be like this, right? And it's tunnel vision. I also know when a woman's in her task oriented, she's in her masculine, and she's kind of untouchable, right? She's got to be in her feminine. Mm-hmm. I was like, but I will say, like, I don't know what you want me to do anymore. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I ask you like, hey, like, and here's the thing. I usually don't ask like, hey, what do you want me to do to help? Because I don't want to be this like man child that she has to manage. I usually just go and start doing stuff. But I also know she likes things a certain way around this time of year. So I'm like, I don't even know what to ask you right now. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I tell you I miss you, you bite my head off. I was like, I asked you about the shoes, you bite my head off. I was like, and then we're over here, I ask you if I should go do this over here, and you look at me like I'm a total idiot. I was like, I don't understand like what's happening here. And she was really cool about it. And she was like, I'm really sorry. Like, but here's the thing. Like, I didn't want to talk to her about that stuff. I was actually scared. But what I noticed is when I was talking to her about it, what you're saying is exactly right, because I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. We sort of just took the power away from the situation, and we were able to then talk about it. but we did it more like less in like this sort of humorous way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you okay? You know, it's like, you know what I mean? Because I know that's not going to get to her. But yeah, it's like naming things like that does take power away. But I don't know if couples normally go about it the right way, do they?
Right.
So
Not typically.
My parents didn't go about it the right way, so how would I learn to go about it the right way?
right, exactly, right. So I would love for you guys to tell us like what's. I'm sure there isn't like the right way, but there's got to be righter ways than going about them the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first thing that comes up is something that we've been talking about, and the opposite of disconnection is always connection. It's so another stat out there, 69% of conflict is unresolvable, meaning it has something to do with my past that's never going to change, or who I am as a person, a characteristic about me that's probably not going to change. We have them and they will be in our relationship forever. I like to say sometimes our trigger points or our traumas, they like to have an orgy together. They just like to really screw each other over really bad, right?
It's such a visual.
Trauma orgy.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. The point is that my mom was, she grew up and she was very traumatized from childhood, and she was not very emotionally present. And so a lot of the emotions she shared was frustration, anger, that type of thing. And so I have this point of difficulty. I have a critical ear, meaning I hear things more critical than they might be because I hear them as if my mom was saying it, right? This is something that lives inside of me.
Wow.
And my beautiful, amazing wife had a dad that was very direct, and I'm attracted to very strong women and direct women and amazing women, meaning my wife. And so how she says things is very direct sometimes.
And I have a tone. And so again, those things don't play well together.
They don't play well together. Right.
So if tone and trauma had an orgy, it'd be really crazy loud and terrible.
Yeah. My ear hearing things more critical than they are, and her tonality, they don't play well together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
And they will never change.
They won't. We've tried to change them for 10, 15 years.
And so it's having the awareness of our patterns, and then we get to navigate how we work with them.
How we manage them. And so like this is my biggest tip for couples is knowing, like, if you have a conversation, if you're having this argument over and over and over, and you're like, why can't we really dissect, go really dive in and be like, what is the pattern here? And getting curious. And so for me, when I'm just kind of like up in my head and I'm talking and I'm like, I can say something very direct, and then I hear his response, I'm like, oh, that didn't land well. I get to come in and say, hey, I hear that maybe didn't land like I intended it to. This is what I meant. And I get to say it softer.
Can you give me an example of just maybe something in the past you said and yours, like with a certain, and can you actually do it with the tonality that you're talking about?
This is like from a year ago. I don't know why this one popped in, but like we went deeper when this happened. So, he was gonna go, I think, for a bike ride or something.
Probably.
And I just kind of, I was working and I just looked up and I'm like, you're wearing those shorts again? And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I was like, sorry. I was like, I don't even know what was going through my head at that time, but I know that's kind of how I said it and the specific thing I said. But we got to like really dive in more. And as we navigated that conversation, we got to go through it to connection.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I could, yeah. The tonality, I mean, like it's really interesting that you say this. So like I have a 3-month, course that I teach. And I spend one of the skills. So I teach 11 skills over that time. One of them, I think this surprises most guys, but then when they get it, they really understand it. It's tonality. You know, I was like, you need to say things in a way, because you completely and totally change the meaning of something by the way you say it, right? You use the exact same words, different tone. And like, I'll even joke with these guys. Like, I'll be like, here, we'll do it right now. I'll be like, dude, what's up with that shirt? Or I'll be like, dude, what's up with that shirt? And I'll ask them, I'll be like, what did one feel like compared to two? And they'll be like, judgmental and insulting. And I was like, but I didn't change anything but the tone. Or what would the second one sound like? And they're like, you were curious. And I felt even complimented. So the tonality thing is a very, very big deal. But you guys, instead of, and this is something that I really want the audience to latch onto, because it sounds like what you guys do is you do what most couples probably don't, which is you catch it. And then it sounds like what you guys actually do is you might even leverage it as a way to create more connection instead of more disconnection. Like I loved, like, because Jessica has tonality too. She also has an RBF. She is absolutely drop dead gorgeous, but she if you look at her from across the room, she'll look like she'll kill you, like that, like, which is great
because I feel like we're
she's not, she's February, so I think she's
okay.
She's Aries, but she's like very like but her tone, like, a lot of times too, I mean, she's mom of 4 boys, and she'll be like, what's wrong with you? Like, what are you thinking? And I'm like, but like, I've known her for so long, but like, I think a lot of couples would, like, so if I were to compare it to like a normal couple, like if you guys were a normal couple, Mark would probably be like, what is, like, why do you talk to me like that? I didn't talk to you in a certain way. Like, what do you mean? It wasn't, why are you wearing those shorts? And then all of a sudden they're just fighting, right? But instead you guys are like, oh, hang on, time out. Let's talk about what just happened. And then you use it in a way to actually, what sounds like, create more connection.
Right. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I think, so what we share with couples we work with is when something comes up for you, when you notice something hits you in a way that doesn't feel good, come into it with curiosity and compassion.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And so, it's like, hey, ouch, that kind of hurt. Can you tell me more about this? Or can you rephrase that so, you can get a little bit more clarity around what was shared. And then you talk about impact versus intent as well. So,
and some of this stuff doesn't happen in the moment. Maybe it's an hour later, maybe it's a day later. A lot of it, because of the practice we've had, it does happen immediately. But I like to talk a lot about intent versus impact. What was your intent, and what was the impact it had on the other person? Because we're trying, as somebody who wants to be a good communicator, I want to make that gap so small that there can't be miscommunication in between it. So what was your intent in that statement about my shorts? What was your intent?
Oh, God.
She liked your legs is what it was.
That you had worn them already. And so I was just like, are you, I don't know. I don't know. And
probably some sort of care, right? Do you need more words?
Yeah.
She probably just wanted you to put your wrestling singlet back on.
Yeah,
why are you wearing
those
those
shorts? Take the shorts off. No, the point is, the intent was probably, do you need more shorts? Because I can buy you some, or I don't want you to stink, or I don't want you to be judged. I care for you.
Yes.
But the impact was judgment, and like it felt critical and that type of thing. So there was a gap there, right? And so if I come up to her and I smack her on the bottom, and I say, like, you look great today, my intent is to compliment her because I want her to feel good. But what was my impact? If she's doing the dishes and annoyed with it, it's not going to resonate with her. She's going to be like, don't touch me, leave me alone. Right? And so as communicators, we're trying to make that gap between intent and impact like as small as possible.
That is, I didn't know where you were going with that, intent versus impact, but I think that's huge because, so give you an example of a slap on the rear end. Bree, you'll probably appreciate this. My wife hates that. Unless we're having sex, like then she's good with it. But like for her, so for me, like I want to make her feel like, hey, I love you. I desire you. Man, you look good. And like, of course, that's what I want to go do. Right. And like, I've known this woman for 30 years, right? You would think like I'm reprogrammed. I constantly have to get in my own way and be like, that's not what's going to make the impact. It might be my intention, but that's not going to do well for impact. If I want to impact, I got to do something different. I got to do something she appreciates. Like, so like when she's doing the dishes, instead of going up behind her and, you know, slapping her on the rear end, I'll put my hands on her hips. I'll give her a kiss on the cheek, and, or I'll just say, hey, I don't want a thing from you. I just want to love you. That's it. Something like that for her. And here's another thing too. And I asked my wife, I was like, what is one of the sexiest things that I do that like
That's a
just
good question.
really, really attracts you? And her answer floored me. I was like, that? And cause like, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, like when you get out of the shower and you're just wearing a towel, you know, it's like all these things that a dude wants to hear. Right. And she's like, there's one thing you do. You don't do it very often. I wish you would. And I'm like, what is it? I'm like, oh, yeah.
You got me.
I know. I'm like, she's like, when you just pull me in and you put your hands on my face or you run your fingers through my hair and you kiss me on my forehead. And I'm like, that? She's like, oh, she's like, I melt. She's like, I feel so safe. I feel so loved. I feel like you don't have an agenda and I want to rip your clothes off. And I'm like, okay, all right. So like, it's okay. That would have never hit my intention radar, but obviously it needs to hit the impact radar.
Right.
So yeah.
That's good.
I want to get to how you guys help couples. It sounds like you guys work with couples together and then you also work with people separately. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we have multiple parts of our business, but the biggest impact we have with couples is working 2-on-2 with them. We have calls where we're all four together, and then we have calls where we support them individually on what they're working through. Because what we bring to the relationship, we have to work on within ourselves, and then we have to work on the relationship altogether. And I think where the low success rate of marriage therapy, where it falls short, is there's a number of places. One, there's usually some sort of triangulation. So there's one provider to two people, and someone always feels like they're taking one person's side or the other. Mm-hmm. And so we eliminate that by working 2-on-2 with couples. Mm-hmm. Only people I know that really do that. And then the other part is, I've seen it before. A couple come in and they're on the brink of divorce and they want to come in every other week. And that's just not going to cut it. It's not going to work. Years of problems and years of disconnection and resentment. The intensity of the solution has to match the intensity of the problem. And so if you want to lose 5 pounds, you can do it on your own. If you want to lose 50 pounds, you're going to need to hire a nutritionist. You're going to need to hire, a personal trainer. You're going to need to do a lot more. And so a lot of people are looking for help, but they're not, the intensity of the help is not where they need to be. And so we offer the ability to really get in and create whatever the couple needs to get the results they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And so that's, multiple calls a week and just higher intensity.
Multiple calls a week?
Yeah. If need be.
If needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like tech support outside. So the other thing is, if you're doing therapy, you have one appointment a week, right? And you have this interaction, but your appointment's not for 3 more days. You have to hold on to that. Whereas like you can message us in real time.
Yep.
Let us know what's happening, and we get to help to like at least diffuse it until our next call and help give you talking points to navigate it in the moment.
That's awesome. You guys do that. I started implementing that into my coaching with my one-on-one clients. Mm-hmm. So I have them Monday through Friday, I have them text me an audio every single day. Yep. And I'll be like, give me an update on the things that are working, the things you're struggling with. That way, by the time we get to our call, we're not spending 20 minutes catching up. Like we've tackled a lot of the problems and now we can get right to work. Exactly. But like, I too have found that is so In my opinion, I think it's the difference between a good result and a great one. A lot of times is that constant touch point.
Well, and if you think about the first 15 to 20 minutes of every call is ate up by just catching up on the situations, the stuff. We're not getting the actual work done that we're looking to. And we can use voice notes for that. We can move through our emotions through voice notes. We can move through situations like that amount of touch point. The level of intensity of support is much higher when you have that.
I agree. And I think if a couple is if they're at the brink, man, like they don't have a week.
No.
Like sometimes a day could be it, right? I mean, like somebody could be one person in the relationship or both be like, I can't do this another day.
Yeah.
But if they get that help, like it's tremendous, especially that often. That's great. And then, so as far, I know you guys have a webinar that you guys are doing later this month.
Yeah, we're doing a webinar January 18th, and we're going to be dissecting like how to be intentional with your relationship and setting your relationship up for success for the year.
Cool.
So we'll be talking about that.
Yeah.
How do people get registered for that?
They can go to our website, so intimacyevolution.com. They can find us on Instagram as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be on there. And I had something else, but I don't remember. You were going to say something.
No, it's okay.
You weren't? Okay.
We'll put those in the show notes for the audience. So if you guys want to go register for that, you absolutely can. That's awesome. You guys are doing that. How often do you guys do stuff like that?
So I think we haven't said yet this year, but I think for 2026, we're going to do a monthly webinar. Every month we're going to do one webinar. We have our podcast as well as some other freebies on our website that people can grab. And so we have a couples retreat this summer. We're just kind of amping up some extra support and some in-person event
experiences.
So.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And is there information about your couples retreat on your website?
It'll be on our website as well. So
okay.
Everything will be on there.
That'll be awesome for you. I'm talking to the audience. Like for you guys, I know there's a lot of guys in our audience who are looking for marriage retreats. So this will be great. So we'll make sure that the guys have that as well. Okay. This was amazing. I wish you guys lived closer. Like I bet me and Jess and you guys, we probably have a blast, just like hanging out. Like you guys just seem like you're super fun to hang out with, talk to, and all that good stuff. But this was really, really cool. I think not only did you guys really cast a light on some of the problems, but you gave some fantastic solutions, like fantastic, like just some of the things that you guys brought to the surface that quite frankly are really, really simple, but not easy, especially like in the heat of the moment. Like I'm thinking like that tonality thing of like, oh wait, that didn't land too well. And then just recalibrating and reconnecting. And also I really appreciate you guys really focusing on the connection piece. It's like not necessarily sex or this or that or this. It's like connection. It seems like it's the biggest, right?
Sex is a side effect of deep connection.
Yeah.
You want more sex? Connect more.
I totally agree. What's so funny is so I'm reading the audio portion. I just launched a book in September called Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood.
Nice.
And I talk about like the three elements of connection or the four different pillars of being married, which is individual. So you're both individuals, partnership, that's like the not so sexy stuff, chores, roles, bills, like partners, parenting, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then there's friendship, right? And then there's lovers. And in the book, I said, if you've actually taken care of the first three, the lovers part is actually a direct result of you taking care of the first three, because that's where we're connecting.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're open to it, I want to give one more tip.
Yeah.
Last one. One of the most powerful questions you can ask each other in a relationship is, and we're going to do a rating scale. How would you rate our relationship right now, 1 to 10? And it's like a pain scale. It doesn't really matter. Everyone's scale is different. My scale is typically higher than hers. Just maybe I'm more of an optimist. But that's not the question that matters. It's the next question after that. Whatever this number is, if it's a 6, how can we make it a 7 today.
I love that. I kind of thought that's where you were going with it, because that's the exact question I usually ask my clients. What do you rate your marriage right now? And if they say it's a 4, I'm like, well, what would be happening if it was a 5?
Yeah.
Because like sometimes that 10 just feels like, man, I don't know if we can get there, right? Or like today, right? But like if we can get to a 7, that's progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I love that question, man. Well, you guys are a power couple. I'll tell you what. I'm sure you've probably been told that, but like you guys' expertise and just even just the way that you guys talk about this together is just really, really cool. It's I don't know if you've ever been told this, but you guys definitely give off the vibe of like it's very safe to talk to you about this stuff. And I think especially with a subject like marriage and resentment and sex and not having sex and intimacy and all these things, like, but you guys just seem like you're super easy to work with.
Yeah, thank you. We think so. That's what people tell us. But
That's right.
Thank you for
You bet.
sharing that.
Well, guys, you can find all the links in the show notes. Go to thedadedge.com/1425 for the show. Again, thedadedge.com/1425. Mark and Bree, thank you guys so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right.